Jesus asked the Pharisees, why do you transgress the commandments of God because of your tradition? Today we're going to be looking at one of such traditions of men. The Bible tells us that we have been redeemed from, not by corruptible things like silver and gold, but by the precious blood of the Lamb, the Christ. The blood that is spotless, no blemish. This is the blood that has redeemed us from the endless conducts inherited from the traditions of our fathers. But today people carry on those conducts, digressing the commandments of God. Hello there, my name is Yudi. We'll see you after this time. I no longer dwell on the mistakes I've made, the failures, the controversies and accusations don't bother me. For the good, the bad, and the ugly have culminated in making me the woman I am today.
I was so poor, poor people used to call us poor.
Because of my level of financial status then, I would say, I had one shirt I was wearing every time. In the evening, I wash it.
Put it in front of the fan?
Yeah, put it in the fan. In the morning, I use it again.
I started smoking marijuana with the Bible in Belgium, in my hotel room.
What, you used to tear the Bible?
I tore it, I started smoking, and I started telling myself it tastes sweeter. And from then on, I started smoking with the Bible.
She came to me and said, Richard has passed on. And I just took hold of my clothes as if to tear them off. At that point, I felt that God had answered my prayer. So I said, thank you, Jesus.
7 people.
Yeah, I lost
within
24 hours.
That was then. There's no product without a process. And you'll be what God says you'll be in due season. We celebrate the story behind the glory, and that's to the glory of God. Erelu, you're welcome. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
It's good to see you.
It's nice to be here.
Okay, you're the Erelu Tunwasę of Ode-Ręmo.
Erelu Tunwasę.
Thank you.
There's a difference between Tunwasę and Tunwasę.
Okay, what's the difference?
Right. Tunwasę is a repairer.
Okay.
And Tunwasę is a reformer.
Okay.
And there's a remarkable difference between the two.
Okay. The title of Erelu, because I hear quite a lot of Erelu there. How does one acquire it? Is it by birth? Is it by? Is it bestowed upon one? How does it?
Well, first of all, let me say that there's an Erelu town. There's only one town in the whole of Yoruba land,
Okay.
and that is in Oyo town.
Okay.
However, no one in Oyo town ever is given the title of Erelu.
Okay.
Instead, they have Iyagbogbo,
Okay.
mother of all. And there's also a whole area in Oyo town called Erelu, and there's a river, quite an interesting river called River Erelu.
Okay.
However, there are 5 different sorts of Erelu. You can become an Erelu by joining the Ogboni fraternity,
Okay.
which is kind of an institution historically meant to enhance your spirituality in Yoruba land.
Okay.
You can become an Erelu by joining Oshugbo. Oshugbo was the parliamentary system of government which the Yorubas were left, which we had.
Okay.
And you can also become an Erelu where there's a title supposedly to go to a male, but a female is found appropriate. So that is Erelu of that family title. You can also become Erelu if your husband is given a title. Many women don't realize this. When their husbands are given title, they're just kind of put as an add-on. So they're given the title Erelu of that man, because it's the husband who is actually the chief
Okay.
in that respect.
Okay.
But the usual, shall I say, Western mentality means when a man gets a title, the woman should. And the real Erelu, if I dare say, is the royal Erelu. Okay. And as somebody who becomes an Erelu, in her own right, I want to be quite specific. Okay. Ifa should have been consulted, and that is the oracle. Yeah. The oracle is a system of interpretation of this prophecy of Orunmila. However, as I said, the Yorubas believed in Orunmila. Orunmila was the #1 prophet. The Erelus, there should have been consultation with the oracle, because the Yoruba's life has always been determined via consultation with Ifa. And who do we consult? There's the Orunmila, who is deemed to be the representative of mighty God. Through Orunmila, we communicate with Eledumare. Eledumare is God. Olodumare is referred to in instances. So an Erelu should have had consultation with, well, the king and the town would have had consultation. In my case, when I was going to be given a title, I recall saying to the king, who saw me as someone who would be, who should have a title. I gave him 3 questions. And that's what I've done. Apart from being Erelu Tunwasę, I have other 2 titles. And the first question was that title appropriate to me? Should I receive a title at all? Secondly, what should be the nature of the title? And thirdly, what would be the outcome for myself as a person? And of course, the town. And the 3 questions were answered, and they came back with Erelu Tunwasę.
Erelu the reformer.
Yes.
Erelu in itself as a word, what does it mean?
It's actually a title that only a female is given, and it's a priestess, someone who should be a spiritualist. And interestingly enough, if I look at my story, at the time when I became Erelu, I didn't realize I would end up being a spiritualist.
Okay, we'll get to that.
But now I am.
Okay. At a time you were a mayor in London.
Yes.
How did that happen, being a Nigerian?
Beyond my wildest dreams, I have to say. My parents went to England first. Okay. And I went to join them. And I completed the usual sets of educational system, came back, and then I returned back to United Kingdom. At that time, little did I realize that was to embark on a political career. I was living in a very small, desirable, shall I say, little space. We had just 10 blocks of flats. I happened to have been the only non-white at that point in time, and the others were mainly white. Those who had lived in the areas. Interestingly enough, the area was bombed. There were houses there, but after the place was bombed, they were replaced with flats. So I was occupying one as a tenant. Okay. And all of a sudden, the local authority there, you can refer to as the local council, decided they wanted to sell the entire area. Interestingly, it was a conservative authority. They had earlier offered the occupants the opportunity to buy, because the Conservative Party introduced the right to buy policy. So if you've been a tenant for at least 3 years, you had a right to exercise. You could exercise the right to buy the property. And you also got a substantive discount, 30% plus 1% each year. But no one was interested. Interestingly enough, because majority of the whites who were there were elderly people, and they didn't really want to get into mortgages. In England, you should know, I'm sure you know, on average 25, 30 years mortgage, most of them were too old to get into that. So hence, there was no take-up. And of course, they were all written to that we were going to be decanted, moved elsewhere. And that was how I got into, shall I say, the first community politics.
Hold the thought. Don't go away. This promises to be very interesting. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Okay, so.
Community politics, that's the first essential political system anyone who is going to succeed in politics should get involved with. It was non-partisan. I was not a member of any political party, but yet community politics in meaning asserting your rights as a citizen, as a member of a community in which you reside. And that was how I got on my first ladder. We decided we were going to invite the representatives of the area to come and talk to us about their plans. The elderly, interestingly enough, they all just relied on me. Regardless of my color, they relied on me. I found myself writing to the local councillors. And initially, I think they thought, gosh, just a black person, who is this name? Where on earth had this person come from? So in any case, they responded. I guess that was how it started. And I think the politicians, it was quite clear to them that we wanted to take charge of our homes. So it was quite a successful campaign. We got an independent surveyor to look at the property and was able to argue that there was no reason why they should move us. So in the end, they agreed that as the flats became empty, they would sell. And then those of us who were there had the right to buy or remain as tenants. So shortly after that, a neighbor, an elderly white neighbor, invited me to tea. And she suggested I ought to join local politics. And I thought that was a joke. I mean, for a start, that wasn't my intention. With the surname, I mean, my surname, such a typical Yoruba surname.
Yes.
And I thought, gosh, it couldn't happen. So I ignored her for a while. In the end, one day she invited me to her living room. And I called the party. When I called the party, I wanted to prove that it was not worth joining the party. So I called. And as soon as I think the secretary of the association picked up the call, I simply said I wanted to join the party. She said, oh, wonderful. And she said, she asked for my details. I gave all my details. And she said, oh, gosh, a form will be sent to you. And I said, by the way, before you go, how much do I have to pay for the membership? Because I thought, conservative, God Almighty, I would have to see the bank manager.
Yes.
And she said, I shouldn't worry that the information will be enclosed. So I thought, that was it, they were going to throw the thing in the bin. In the end, the application form arrived. I completed it. I discovered you had to pay just 50 pence for a year.
50 pence?
50 pence. And today, that probably will be 250 naira to one. So probably...
It's less than 2 naira.
That's it, for a year.
Yeah.
So,
For a year?
yes, for a year. So I completed the form. And the next day after sending off the form, somebody arrived to visit me. And they sat me down, welcomed me. This was somebody I probably wouldn't have imagined would come. Was a member of parliament. Came to visit me, to acknowledge my interest. And I was told my form had been received. I was not being interviewed. He simply came to see me and to talk about the party if I had any questions. So, following on from that, of course, I was invited to the first meeting. And they sent me a car to come and collect me. And when I arrived, I was well received by the chairman of the party. The chairman was standing at the entrance, and I was received. Then I was shown into an area where I could have refreshment. Then I was allocated with two hosts, one to my right, one to my left, to take me through the party rules and the order for proceedings. And then I was taken into the meeting. And at every stage, they asked if I understood what was going on. And they also made me feel if I had any questions to answer, I could.
And nobody said anything about your name?
No. For the first time, they had amongst them an ordinary black woman, interested in an African woman, which is significant because English are more used to the West Indians or the Caribbeans.
Yes.
They are not really used to Africans. And I guess they were expecting a very deep accent. But I guess the time came for me to ask my first question. And I got a round of applause. And that was it. And of course, after that, I was invited to stand for election. And I remember when I launched my campaign, they gave me the free hand. I remember putting on the main road 2 loudspeakers. And the music was Edumare Soromida, your God has turned.
What does it mean?
Well, God has actually turned my life around.
Yes.
Akib Karim, may God bless you if you're watching. Akib Karim was a popular Nigerian musician from Abeokuta. He attended. I also had Yoruba dancers, and we had our handkerchiefs. And my colleagues joined me. So the first time they saw how you should launch a campaign. But that was it. Sadly, they asked me which seat I wanted. I wanted a seat which was stronghold Labour, but I was standing for Conservative. On the night of the election, I lost just by 11 votes, and I quietly left. But the next morning, my doorstep was full of floral tributes. The whole place was full of flowers and parcels and this and that, all my doorstep. And it was my neighbor who knocked the door to say, well, Lola, do you see what is happening here? I came out and I went back in, I picked up my phone, I said, maybe I won in the end. So I rang them, I said, did I win? And they said, yes, you did win, you're a winner. You actually swung, you took away 1,500 staunch Labour supporters to the Conservatives, and you're a winner as far as we're concerned. And eventually they had a party for me and so on. For somebody who didn't win, I experienced a caring political party, and I began to find my feet until, of course, I was eventually. In fact, when I stood the second time, I booked myself to go to Hajj because I thought, well, just in case I didn't win, I'll be on the plane. I was to depart the next morning. But I did win. And 16 years of very wonderful...
16 years?
16 years, yes, of wonderful years, I would say, in that environment of people listening to me, challenging me when it needed. I was a member of a formidable team, and I was able to play my part so well that 2 years after being elected onto the Borough Council, someone put my name forward as a deputy mayor, tall order, first time. I need to say that that was the first time a non-white would be elected as a Conservative. Yes. So I guess that's how I started. Not look back.
We'll be right back. Don't go away. Glad you're still here.
So I guess that's how I got into my political life.
Yes.
And gosh, I will never forget those years. Something is special about the white man.
Yes.
I experienced the goodness.
Embraced you with such open arms.
There were tough times too, but when those times were there, I had a godmother and a godfather within the team. You just have to. Yes.
So after that, what happened? Did you relocate? You came back to Nigeria?
Not straight away. I first of all, I met my Kabiyesi, the late Obas Adeolu, who gave me the title Erelu.
That's the Oba Ele.
Yes, popularly known as, yes.
Okay.
That was after losing my first election.
Okay.
Because
So you've been an Erelu for
since
very long time.
Yes, 1991, 92, because officially he told me about the title in 1991, but I came down 92.
Okay.
And I remember one interesting thing though was he did not take a penny from me for the title. I did do all the necessary things, and I went before all. First, what I had to do in the traditional way was to go to all the different shrines in the town, to be presented to all those gods of the town, even before I was installed. On the morning, I recall, I overheard him asking someone to collect 10,000 naira from the bank. When the 10,000 naira arrived, I noticed he took 3,000 out and handed over the remaining. He said, Erelu, I knelt down, said, this is my gift for you. I said, look, Kabiyesi, I said, this is to let you know that I have given you this title, and this you should add to the money you are going to spend today. So instead of me giving him a penny, he gave me a gift. And I cannot forget the prayers he said on that day. He was so sincere, and my life from that moment turned around. I won my election with a big sliding majority.
So at that
Soon
time,
after
you now
that,
added Erelu to your name.
yes,
And,
and proudly so. I started to dress in the regalia of Itagbe. The Itagbe is something when people see, they think it's demonic, but it's an outfit of a traditional chief. And
I've discovered that most of the Erelus wear white. What is the significance?
I have to honestly say that there is of no significance.
No significance.
No. We traditionally, the white is actually quite important if an Erelu is a member of Oshugbo or Ogboni, because it's a religious order. And in many Yoruba sectors, the color white is for Ifa. So Erelus usually would dress in white within the Ogboni and Oshugbo. Somehow though, Erelus are seen as a representative of the institution. And so some wear white because after consultation with Ifa or along the line, they have been told white is the color. But I can say to you, there is no oracle which says anybody should wear white exclusively.
You believe so much in tradition.
Yes.
And now you're turning around to fight that same traditional system. Why?
Well, first thing I need to say that I did not realize I had a calling.
Okay.
But I knew that some time ago, I had almost months of being woken up every hour. And at that time, I had a pastor colleague in Nigeria here. I used to call him and say, look, what is all this waking up every hour? Then he told me, oh, I should take the Bible and be reading. I tried it. It was, say, from 12 o'clock.
Yes.
I would be woken. I could sleep up to 12 o'clock. After that, I may sleep a little bit. By 1, I was up again. So he suggested I should be reading the Bible every hour. I tried that for this. I said, what have I done? Have I killed a human being? Why should I be reading the Bible? I honestly detested it. Because what do I want to read the Bible for? All I wanted was an answer to why I was being woken up every hour. Then he offered to pray with me over the phone. I was in England, and he was here.
How many years ago was that?
This was actually 2005.
Okay.
So in the end, I recall he suggested I should come down. I came down, and I met one pastor who said that I had a calling. I said, calling to do what? With all the luxury I have, to come and do what? What calling? I don't have any calling to anywhere. So he told me I had this calling, deliverance, that. I said, how well done. No. I don't hear honestly, I didn't believe. Then he said he was trying to help me to sit down and focus on the calling. I ignored. I went back. And when I went back, it got quite serious. And I returned again. Then my first experience to be convinced, I was in Ikpaja area. It was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I saw the feet. Then all of a sudden, there was my late Kabisi lying down, covered in white. And I saw something leaving his body. I picked up my phone and called somebody in Ode-Ręmo, one of the chiefs. I told the person to go to Ode, he did. Where was Kabisi? He was sleeping. So I suggested he was to be woken. It took almost 20 minutes to wake him up. He only woke up when I said, tell Kabisi, Erelu is here. Erelu is here. And he woke up. He was given water. He was really almost unconscious at that time. And following on from that, something just told me we should start monthly night vigils. And that was started on the 29th of March.
You didn't consult the Ifa?
No, it just happened naturally. So we started monthly vigils. I used to have 6 pastors. We would start from midnight to 3 o'clock. When Kabisi woke up about 6:30, we'd have the morning devotion, everybody will go away. But it was later on, I was somewhere again, and this pastor repeated this calling. But this time the pastor said, it was Ifa. I said, you see the point? Now it's Ifa, not that the calling was Ifa. And I had to go through an initiation ceremony. But the long short of this is that since then, I have since heard the voice myself.
Hold the thoughts, hold the thoughts. Erelu,
Yes,
you'll have to join us next week.
thank you.
Viewers, there's only God can prepare us for what He has called us to do. We'll be going whatever direction. But when the time comes, you don't need to audition for the part. Join us next week as Erelu tells us exactly what the calling is and in what direction the calling is taking her to. It promises to be very interesting. See you next week and thank you for your time. Goodbye. My name is Judy.